Gravy, y'all. Thanks for being here.
Welcome everybody. Sorry, we were having some technical difficulties, but we really appreciate you joining us for the demos of our design challenge. For anyone who hasn't kept up on our Instagram today, all of our designers have been working on applications for the day of different ideas that they felt could make people's lives better in our new normal. So that could be anything from how to distribute meets to a new version of Zoom. So anything and everything. So all we're going to do is we're going to have each designer go through. We'll walk through their idea, what they did today, what went well, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, we can go ahead and get kicked off. And I'm going to go ahead and go first. So I'll get my screen shared and we'll be good to go. Okay, maybe. Oh, sorry guys. And I can't use Zoom, so this is why I designed my app. So I apologize. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you expecting the viewers to respond, or? No,
just you guys. My application is called Huddle. Huddle, if you know me, you know that I don't like Zoom. I have a lot of issues with Zoom. I have a lot of issues with the iconography for Zoom. And I just felt like there's a lot of things that should be happening when it comes to online meeting experiences that weren't happening before. So whether it's interactive chat or meeting agendas that are integrated into the application, there was a lot of room for growth. So I decided to start trying to make my own. I think trying to make my own in a day was maybe a little bit ambitious, but I'm pretty happy with what has come out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through what I've come up with. Trying to make my own. So as far as the idea, it's going to be a web application. I wanted to set something up where it was really dynamic. And while I don't have every aspect of this designed, I really wanted it to be something where you could really edit the way you view the grids for people, be able to dynamically add and edit, have options like being able to view a chat and integrating a meeting agenda, as well as being able to easily just send somebody a share link like you would a document on paper, or just really being able to easily integrate people into things, share things, and not quite have it be so easy to mess up. I feel like Zoom is really bad. Maybe that's just me, but so my thought, and I also want to make something that was a little bit more human, better interactions and that sort of thing. So this is just a start, but if you were to go and you could hover on anybody's thumbnail, and then you could add an individual interaction. You could pin it or star it, and then you could also start an individual chat with that person. When it comes to the chats, I imagine that those would actually be able to link into Slack channels. So if you have a meeting with a product team or a group, then you could actually link it to that Slack channel. And when the meeting is over, it would send that chat series with all the information to that channel. So it's almost like a documentation system as well. But you could also create individual chats with individual people, just like you would in a meeting if you were there in person, being able to chat with somebody one-on-one on the side. So if you were to add a reaction to somebody, you could have some highlighted reactions. It would be more robust than this, but I just put this there for an example, where you could give people feedback on the spot and make it very easy to respond to people individually versus as a whole. You could additionally, like I said, star somebody to make them more prominent, and you could star multiple people to create different sorts of grids. And then over here on the side, I have sections for the meeting agenda and the chat, and I just have those as toggles so you can decide which ones you want to view so you don't have to take up that space. So if you turn on the meeting agenda, you could then see the agenda and you'd have a little indicator as to where you were, so you could follow along as you went through. And you'd have easily ability to scroll through this. And then when it comes to the chat, if you can see down here, I know it's probably small on your screens, but you would have the ability to actually respond in line with what is happening in the meeting. So you would know what people are responding to. And so then the chats are actually relative to what's happening in the meeting, and you don't lose that context when it's just one long chat when you have a multi-hour meeting. Additionally, you could set up different screen styles. So this is one with a right sidebar. You could also select a bottom side or a bottom bar where these would collapse down. I don't have that designed, but that would be an option. And additionally, you could just have a full screen with just the videos. And then if somebody was sharing a screen, you could also easily arrange those in whatever view you want. I wish in Zoom there was the ability to be able to incorporate the shared screen more easily into just a simple grid that was more customizable for individual users. So that is Huddle. I wanted to get more done. I think it was a little ambitious to hope that I could redesign a video chat web application in a day. But it was a lot of fun. I'm happy with how it turned out, and it's definitely something I would like to continue working on in the future. So thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Very
good.
Beautiful.
Alrighty, so next up we have Tyler with Wevoy.
Oh my. All right. So I did get a head start because I knew I'd have to lose a couple hours today. But let me share my screen here real quick. Let me make sure that y'all can see it. All right, so Wevoy, well, not that one. The other one. I need Huddle. What can I say? All right, so I got a bit of a head start, and Wevoy is, if you've seen the Instagram stories, Wevoy is an app that allows me, somebody who loves to travel, loves places, loves adventure, to find images from Instagram commonly or wherever else on the internet for that matter, and send them to one place to share with people that also love adventure and travel and things like that. So it's just collecting stuff from the internet, really. And so a bit of a brief tour. It started out as Lego, as in let's go, let's do this together. And then I changed to Wevoy. Lego just didn't fit. It was kind of, I don't know, just was too much. I didn't like the double G. I couldn't decide on a font. And ultimately, like I said, I changed to Wevoy, as in we, and then Voy, which is a word root for voyage, for voyager and other Romance languages, and also for seeing in other languages. So we see together, we go together, that kind of thing. A bit of color exploration here. I'm a sucker for orange, green, and blues. And incidentally, this, I have it somewhere. It's in my, no, it is over here. The names of the colors, I like them. They were over here. Watercourse, Safety Orange, which is great when you're traveling, and then Lochmara. So Loch being Scottish for lake. Just silly wordplay. Bunch of other exploration here. Here's some typed exploration. And eventually I signed up for Black Hans Sands as the dominant title case header font and then assistant. And let's see over here, the logo. So there's a basic logo for an app icon, as it were, and then a more word marky type logo that blows that out a bit. And then the app. So I spent my time up here in Miro, building out the architecture, because as I thought about it in my head, I thought this would be really simple. And then as things do, it quickly got more complex. And I wanted it, as far as the interactions to go, kind of like I want it to be kind of like rather than an infinite scroll in Instagram, I wanted to focus the interactions more on deeper interactions and deeper engagement with a piece of thing, and not just liking and commenting, but actually learning more about this stuff and sharing it with people. And so hopefully we'll see how that plays out throughout. This was, so it was kind of like Tinder, where you swipe between locations and then you can scroll vertically for more information about them. And then you can tap in to see more information on or you can see an image bigger. And this was a super high level wireframe that I started out early. And these are some early explorations that I couldn't get behind. I liked the back and forth, but it was just too much. And for an experiment like this, I didn't want to spend too much time on animations. So, and actually, you know what? Instead of, where am I going here? I'm gonna make sure that I'm just gonna show y'all how it'll go. I spent some time on this, but so like I said, this is when you open up the app, you're gonna get something like this. And you just scroll and it's just various pictures of the Faroe Islands. And if I want to see more information, I could tap into that, and it's a little card over here, a map, basic information about this place, all pulled from Wikipedia. And you could tap into one of these and then get taken to a similar view for each of those. Likes, adding to collections, and sending. Those are the three mechanics that I wanted to incentivize, make a big deal of. And also learning more about this place on Wikipedia, seeing links or seeing photos on Instagram. Travel, TRVL is it's like an Uber for travel agents. And so how can we get people to dig into this a bit more? Not just planning the vacation. I don't want this to be a planning because there's frankly too many details. But how do you get somebody on the phone and say, hey, what would it look like for me to go to Tórshavn? And then TripAdvisor for a bit more details. Related places and a bit of overview on each of those. So I click into that, and here I get taken into Tórshavn. And then it's a similar layout, but when you get this layer deeper, I wanted the photos to be full, like as big as I could possibly make them, rather than a small grid like you would see on Instagram Explorer. And so these are as big as I could make them, allowing for the format. But then if I want to tap into this particular image, I get a bit more deal on this. And then here's where it becomes a bit more social, where I can see all the comments on this particular picture. If it's public, those comments just by friends of mine, and then my own notes, captions, whatever. And then I wanted rather than just a standard threading of comments, I wanted something a bit different. And we've been on a project, Aubrey, Nick, and I have been playing around with these cards. And so I pulled those in, and to swipe between you can swipe between conversations basically. And so if I have whoever Darren is, he sent that to me and he commented, and we could comment back and forth. Or if I have, I'm still working on this. If I have a group that I like to travel with, like I know Aubrey does, then we could have a conversation here about this photo and share things back and forth. And I think that's the extent of it. Oh, let me go back. Oh, I can't go back, can I? Shoot. So what I did over here, here's some other explorations of, like, all I did was change this up here so you could swipe back and forth. But there's a concept of an inbox where people have sent me images or places that they wanted me to see. And again, rather than just being like an email, I want it to be full screen and really inviting and attractive, because it's hopefully this is a visually enticing app. So instead of just a message from this person, you get a full big fatty screenshot of that. These are some places that I love and would like to go. And I think that is all that I have to show right now. There we go. Thank you.
Awesome work, Tyler.
Yeah.
I would totally use it.
Good job, man.
All right. Next up, we have Mary.
Hi, Tyler. I want that app. I would use it, and I want to go to all of those places that you featured. It's beautiful. Okay. Sorry.
I was like, oh yeah, sorry to interrupt. But knowing that the two of you travel quite a bit, I was like, man, what would Mary do? What would Aubrey do? So
that's what I need. I need that app. Beautiful and immersive. Okay, so today I worked on an app called Pickit, and Pickit is a concept for a grocery shopping trip coordination app for your neighborhood. I realized that especially during COVID-19, there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable going grocery shopping or can't make it to grocery stores, but yet it's a very necessary part of our week. And there are people who are comfortable going to grocery stores. So how can we coordinate those shopping trips with other people's needs in the same area and cut down on the total number of shopping trips that happen from one community, and also make grocery trips a lot safer for people. So it's definitely a work in progress, and it's a very difficult concept, and there's so many things I could have done with this. So I definitely found myself going into like these crazy rabbit holes of exploration. And it was a bit of work to reel myself back in and try to get the core functionality in there. But this was some branding that I started working on earlier in the week and had it ready to go today. So did a little logo that is a picket fence turned shopping bag type logo, playing on that word, and then a bit of icon exploration and some color craziness. So that's pretty much all I had. I did a few like wireframe sketches and really tried to nail down exactly what features I wanted to work on today. But I did a lot. It was a crazy day. So let me make sure that this is the right size. Okay. Can you all see that full iPhone? Perfect. Cool. So I'll just hop into Pickit. So I made a little splash screen. This is kind of a difficult concept. So even though it's not the most important part of the app, I did want to invest a little bit of time into a kind of educational walkthrough before the user either signs in or signs up for the app. Maybe this is the first time they've entered and they already have an account on another device or something. I did not do these illustrations. I stole them from a very free illustration library, so don't worry. But it was nice to kind of keep moving faster and have a little something. I think that would be something I would add later on down the road, is some custom illustrations. But I just wanted to be able to allow users to kind of drag through this initial kind of walkthrough, explaining how this is going to work, because it is a little bit complicated. So once they finish that, they can skip the tour, sign in, whatever, and it takes them to their trip page. So this is where they will keep track of all upcoming grocery trips. It helps to know when a neighbor is going to be going on a grocery trip, so that you'll get notified and say, oh, I actually need something. They're leaving in an hour. I'll just like put in a request for a can of beans or something super random. And that neighbor who's heading to the grocery store will get that request delivered to them. So I did that trip page. We'll come back to that in a second. There is the request page where neighbors can make those requests. And then there is a page for My Circle, which is your neighborhood, basically. It's small right now, but they would, be able to add neighbors and find their address as well as chat with them. And then I didn't get to actually designing the chat page, but I think that there needs to be a little bit of social engagement on this app, because maybe you're at the grocery store and you realize that they don't have the right kind of milk or something. So you might chat with your neighbor and see if 2% is okay. So back to the trips. The first thing I wanted a user to be able to do is schedule a trip. So they need to notify their neighbors when they're planning on heading to the grocery store. And maybe that's something that's a today thing, maybe it's tomorrow. And then there's a few options for like a quick selection of approximately what time you'll be heading, and then you can do a custom time. We're just gonna leave in an hour and schedule that trip. So hooray, you have scheduled a trip and your neighbors will be notified. And so when you head back to your trips, there's this kind of card to represent this upcoming trip. And you can see that you've got the date and time, and then there are 0 accepted requests from other neighbors, and there are no items in your list for that trip. But down here in the left, you can see there's a little notification for the requests. So we've got some neighbors' requests that are matching our timing for our grocery trip. So we'll pop back over here and you can see there's 3 new requests from your neighbors, different amounts of items, different timing from when they made that request. And you can also start your own request if you are in need of something, but we'll talk about that later. So we'll check out Sue's request. She needs some yogurt and peanut butter. And there's a little bit of metadata around how much that approximately could cost. The whole financial aspect of this app, I would love to spend more time kind of thinking through, because I know there's some way to maybe incentivize use, because this is kind of altruistic and very community oriented. And so if it's free, if the user who's running all these grocery trips for people isn't maybe getting compensated, I'm not sure that users would be as apt to sign up and be that person who's constantly delivering groceries to their neighbors. So I want to think a bit about that, but there's the ability to chat with Sue if something's wrong, but we're just going to go ahead and add all of her items to our shopping trip. So when you go back to your trips, you can see there's a little notification here. You have accepted a request and there's 2 items in your shopping trip. So you'll open that up and you can see the 2 shopping items in your list. And as you're shopping, or maybe you're finished shopping, you can check them off and mark those 2 items as purchased. So Sue will get notified that you've purchased her items, and there's only a couple things you have to do. I think it would be important to take a photo of that receipt and let Pickit handle that in some way. I'm not sure yet. And then there would be a link to the address for your neighbor, so you can just go ahead and deliver those groceries to her. And then you'll head back to your trip. You can see your upcoming trip is now in your latest trip, and you don't have anything coming up. But maybe there's another opportunity where you realize you need something and you can't make it to the grocery store right now, and this might be a necessary item. Another aspect of this app that I want to mention is this doesn't have to be a grocery shopping trip. It could be like, I need a cup of sugar for my cake, and maybe my next door neighbor can just give me a cup of sugar. I think in this digital age, it's nice to have a tool to kind of communicate in this way that people were really, really used to communicating by just like knocking on their neighbor's door. People are way less comfortable with that. So I think that also could be a use case for this app. But we're just going to start a request. We're in desperate need of coffee filters. So we're going to search for that coffee filter. This is not fleshed out yet. I know there's a lot more I could do for the request, kind of creating a request feature, but we're just gonna make that request. That was easy. There's way more that needs to happen in that, but you can see it's not been claimed by anyone, and there's 1 item, and here's maybe when you need it by, or maybe when you put it in. So that is the gist of Pickit. I felt like I did a lot of screens, and there's not as much like design visual kind of clarity throughout the application. I wish I could have spent more time on like color unification and maybe more branding and even the animations and the transitions between pages. But I was glad that I got to spend a lot of time on the user experience and the actual flow and the architecture, and try to make it as easy to understand. There's definitely a lot of holes in this app idea, but it's something I want to spend more time on because I had fun. I had a lot of fun with this. So that is Pickit. I don't think I have anything else. That's all.
Great work. Wow.
Super cool, Mary.
That's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
My hands are like shaking a little bit and my brain is done.
You got a ton done. That's awesome. Next up, we have Nicholas.
Hello. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good. All right. I need to share my screen. It's working. No, not that one. Okay. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Sweet, thank you. Okay, so my app is called Stockyard, and basically something that came up during this COVID and pandemic thing was that some of the food supply chain kind of came to a halt. There were some issues with lack of different meats, and so I saw in a lot of my social media that the request for local farmers skyrocketed. And so there were just tons of people asking, hey, where can I get this? Where can I get this? Does anybody know local farms that I can go and purchase meats, etc.? So the idea came up because I didn't really see a good platform to kind of help farmers, like local farmers, get together with local communities and help sort of bridge that gap. So I came up with the idea of Stockyard. So right here is some of the branding that I was kind of playing around with. I really liked the sort of tan. I called this color leather. Sort of looks like a leather patch you put on a hat, which is pretty neat. And so I'll kind of jump into the app. Let me go over here. And I'll kind of show like the high level overview, and then I'll walk through the actual prototype. But at a high level, I was kind of able to get quite a bit of screens done. On that, I'll just go ahead and jump straight into the thing. So we've got sort of a landing screen. I kind of did the opposite of Mary, where I didn't do a lot of sort of onboarding up front or login stuff. So it's pretty simple up front here. So we basically just kind of log in straight to the app. I didn't really go over a home screen. I wasn't really sure what all to put onto the home screen yet. There was a lot of strategizing and data gathering that I didn't have time to do. But I really wanted to focus more on the flow of me, the consumer, wanting to locate and get in touch with a local farm to purchase meats. So we'll start with the farm side. So farm side would come here, farms near you. You basically are looking for different farms around you. So you type in that, or you can click on the little icon and it would get your actual GPS coordinates. It could tell you how far away the farms are from you. So some of these are real farms. This one, of course, is not. And then being able to also look on a map view and to see, we go here to Houston Farms, and we can see right here that they really only do beef. Some farms may have a lot of other animals, but yeah, so we'll click on that. We come here to the farm profile. And so on the farm profile, this is going to give you information about that specific farm, what, like what their community rating is. Let's see. It's stuck. There we go. Okay. Like a brief info about the farm. This is really where I got stuck today, is what all to put on the farm profile. There's a lot more ideation I can go over like through this process of what information we should present about the farms. So I kind of kept it brief. What kind of animals they have to purchase there. So I focused on beef. So just kind of a little card here with some of these icons. We'll learn about what those icons are on the next page, but a good way to kind of visually show like, hey, there's no hormones, they're grass-fed. There was no fast icon that I could find for grass, so I just did leaves. Cows eat leaves, it's fine. And then they won some sort of award. We don't know what award it is, but they're award winning. So you want to buy that cow because it won something. And we see that they have full, side, and half, and then there's also different packages that you can buy. So we'll click on that to go to the details. And so this is kind of where we learn a little bit about what those things were. Maybe hovering over that would kind of show you what award it was, whatever. And then getting down into here, we have the different options. So this is kind of where I got to the end of the day. And I would love to kind of ideate a little bit more around like how we calculate prices. And, if you wanted to do like a half and a quarter, or just a half and like two of their packages. So the sort of calculating of your, before you get to the cart, before you're going to add to the cart, or in like any of that stuff, I wasn't able to kind of ideate around. But anyway, so I want to order half, and then that's kind of where I got there. I'd love to kind of flesh this out a little bit more, the packages. I know a lot of local farms that I've looked at online have, if you don't want to buy like a half or a quarter, you can get different packages that come with like 3 roasts, 10 steaks, etc. So And then the other way to kind of get into this is, let's say you don't want to look for a specific farm, you want to look for a specific meat. So you're like, hey, I know that I want bison meat, right? So we go here to meats, we go down, oh, and here's bisons. I didn't build out that flow because I had the beef flow already, but there's a lot of really good bison farms around here as well. So this way we click on beef, and then now we're going to find farms that specifically do beef around us. So any farm that has the tag beef will show up in this search. And this is basically the exact same flow as before, but it's sort of the metadata has changed based on your search results or on your criteria that you've put in. So we click that, and then again we got the same flow here. We can go back. Oh, that's not. Anyway, so that's Stockyard. I right now I think that the way that this is being handled is through Facebook groups and like Facebook pages. And so I feel like this would be a really good tool for local farms to connect better with local communities and local families, and have a much easier farm to family platform. So thank you.
Work, Nick.
Right on.
No,
Love it.
All
I
about
know you will have users because 55 million chickens are eaten in the world every day. Fun fact for everybody.
55 million.
55 million chickens.
Also, I can't wait until you flesh out the concepts like you said. I didn't know that was a pun.
We should meet offline.
Yeah, I like it. You said that. I didn't know if you were making a pun.
Crema comedy, everybody. Okay, next up we have Pamela.
Hello, so I'm going to share my screen. On my Figma file. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Perfect. And so the idea that I had is to create a video conference call application for kids. Unfortunately, during COVID-19, all the kids around the world found themselves using video conference calls applications that were not designed for them. And so the idea is to create an application that considers their physical and cognitive skills to make design decisions based on those two aspects. So I did some work beforehand. I used Zoom because it was widely used for education and because it has the features that we need for distance learning. I use their color palette as inspiration, but it feels too corporate as we are seeing right now. So instead of using blue, I changed that to purple. I kept the orange and added teal and pink to play with those colors, create a couple of illustrations. And the logo is based on Zoom's logo. I just changed the shapes to make it feel like kiddo. Created the app icon, which I ended up using, and thought like using rainbows and pizza and things that kids like as inspiration for the UI. Because what I wanted is to focus on the personality of the app, because I was going to use a Zoom as a foundation for the UI. So focus on the personality aspect. Something interesting that I did is that I ran a quick survey on my Instagram, asking my friends to check with their kiddos if they understand the emojis we normally use on Zoom. And interesting, the thumbs up, they all understood what it meant. But the clap, for instance, some of them say, oh, that means celebration, excitement. But my son and another kid said something I cannot remember, but my son said, wash your hands. And it usually looks like you're washing your hands. I don't know if COVID did that to him, but this is an interesting fact because knowing that helped me simplifying what Zoom has today in order to design for a kid. So I'm gonna jump into the prototype. Okay, hold on. So something that I did the entire morning was I used Procreate to do that's a iPad digital illustration tool because I wanted to create loose strokes, illustrations, and so I actually really like that application for that, and to do it faster too. I know that you can do better stuff on Illustrator, but for the sake of time, I use Procreate. So this is can I restart this? How do you restart? So the idea here is that kids, the splash screens, the kids are talking. That's what I wanted to accomplish. And use the illustrations I did yesterday and tweak them to convey different kids, and use some of the illustrations that I did on Procreate for the background. So once you see the splash screen, this is the screen where the teacher is, the teacher as the host is the person letting kids in, right? So this is the first kid that joined. And in this scenario, the teacher is talking. So there is artwork showing that, that who's talking. And I kept the same navigation for the iPad. So I have these illustrations, something that I thought it was the share icon. It's kind of confusing even for me as an adult. It's very abstract. So I thought maybe bringing that physical experience when you go on the front and share with your peers. So using that Blackboard may be a good way to show it will be more understandable for the kid that's what it is. Of course, I'll be very curious to test these icons. I am still I don't know if kids will understand what the microphone is, if it means the same to us. So I've never designed an app for kids. So I'll be very curious to run that usability testing and see how kids react to this. But I also want to leverage intuitive interactions. So, most of it will be swiping. So that will be my plan once we develop this app. So once our kids join, this is how the layout will be. So here we see kids that are muted, kids that have the cam on, the cam off. And what I thought is that keeping the teacher always as the biggest one, since she's the host. So basically, even if it's another person, the host, and not only teachers, but in this case, the teacher being the host is always the one with the thumbnail is bigger than the other. So it stands out because that person is probably the one that is going to be talking. Of course, if you are not, then you can disable that on your side. So here it shows another screen where this kid is talking. And so it shows you, it's right now, it's really difficult to see who's talking on Zoom, and especially for kids. So having a way to call that out will be really interesting. And kids, like I said, I want to use a intuitive interaction. So it'll be a lot of swiping rather than tapping. And something also that I thought it'd be good to provide feedback. So let's say there is a kid that is talking a lot, and then the teacher mutes them. They don't know they've been muted. So show them, hey, be quiet with an illustration. Probably they cannot read yet. So maybe an illustration, hey, be quiet. So the kid knows he's being muted or he needs to be quiet if the teacher is making those actions. So on the reaction side too, if you want kids, like if you have 20 kids on Zoom and then you ask a question, hey, do you guys want to do this? Everybody's like, yeah, everybody's going to start screaming. So maybe leverage the reactions and show, hey, do you want thumbs up? So trigger that action for them to take it. And something else that I thought is that let's say you have a kid that needs to share something, and that kid doesn't understand the UI still. So finding a way to say, hey, you need to share, but not saying it, not trying to explain it, but the UI direct them with an animation. Hey, this is what you need to click. So the idea of this app is to empower kids to use this tool to have fun, but also to help teachers to take that frustration away from the teacher not being able to help the child who is having trouble navigating this experience, but also the parent, because what we found during COVID-19 as parents is that we had to block that time to be with the kid because they didn't know how to use Zoom. So this is the idea. I really wanted to make it bright, and I definitely leveraged what Zoom provides and actually simplified and took away what they may not use. For instance, the chat. Kids may not use it, so I actually took that away. I know I forgot an icon, or I didn't do it. I didn't have time. But there is also the participants where you can see everybody. I didn't work on that icon, I didn't have time. So it'd be nice to see if everyone is there, but I don't think kids will probably just swipe. So I really have fun. It's the first time that I do an application for kids, and I will be really curious to see, I'd be really curious to understand, what they think about something that with like the microphone, for instance. Will they understand that microphone means you can talk? And I thought maybe using another microphone icon, but then it probably means singing, right? So yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I'm curious. I'm gonna start testing it with my nephews and my son. So yeah, that's Zoom.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome work,
Good job,
Pamela.
Pamela.
I love the idea of having the reactions where you ask them for a reaction come up on the screen. That's super cool.
Awesome.
And
yeah, a lot of fun.
Also more proof that Zoom needs improvement. So next up, last but not least, we have Sean.
That's actually a perfect segue to mine, because mine didn't start out as intentionally a kids app, but it became that, or at least visually, I think it became that. So my idea, I'm calling it Wonder. The idea behind it is that I have felt like every day feels like the same day, whether it's the weekday or the weekend. So it was inspired by my daughter. She is just 2.5 today. She wakes up every day, 5:30, 6 o'clock, just like totally ready for the day, completely wide awake, ready to play hard. And I think that's so cute. She's just so excited for new experiences. And me, like every day I wake up, I'm like, what day is it? Like I really struggle because I'm watching the kids part of the day, I'm working part of the day. So it's really bizarre feeling. So initially the idea was an app that was inspired by kids, but for adults, that really brings you out of your daily grind. Tyler mentioned, I don't know if this is a real category of apps, but he called it an unproductivity app, which I think is awesome because that's the point, is to kind of step you away from your computer and do that. So these, what I'm showing right now is just a few screens that I have, and really I intended to create just 4 maybe unique screens, and I think I accomplished it. What I really wanted to focus on was the animations, the transitions, just to really show off or really experiment what I could do in Figma. But the app just got super colorful, which I love. The iconography is super simple. So whether it is for adults or kids, I'm thinking in reality the way I could imagine myself using it. I open this app with Truly in the morning, and I'm like, True, let's go on a walk. Let's see what we can find. And so the idea is you click, you get a daily prompt from each of the 5 senses. And as you're going through, you can check things off. So I'll go ahead and dive into the app just to kind of show. So again, what I really focused on was some of the prettier stuff. I do a lot of enterprise level work, which is really straightforward. A lot of the time, you're there to get something done. This is meant to slow you down, look at the world through the eyes of a child. So one of the things here is that literally I wake up and I really struggle to think what day it is. So there's just a big reminder that it is in fact Friday today. And I think it'd be really cool if it was location based. So it also knew your weather, the time of day, because I think this screen could be really reactive to what's happening. So today it's a beautiful sunny day. And this is something here, there's 0 instruction on the screen. This is another thing that I'm inspired by my daughter's, she just clicks around on stuff. Oftentimes she'll press the TV screen or the computer because she doesn't realize it's not a phone. It looked like the same things. So I would want you just to be thrown into this sort of splash screen. And again, like this could be a rain cloud, or it could be the moon or something like that, depending on the weather, time of day. But this interaction is a drag up. So as you drag up, it reveals the content behind it. But you can imagine doing all sorts of fun stuff, like a rain cloud that you have to swipe away or something like that. But this was my original concept where it transitions to this. And again, this is like, I did some updates and I was like, man, this is too simple. But I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. This is more my taste, where it's not complicated, it's really simple. And I'm using rainbow colors effectively. Everything but yellow. Yellow is tough to see on this. So basically you're dropped into here, you're reminded that it is sunny and 85 degrees, let's go explore. So that's, again, I think that'd be really cool to have that location data baked into this. So you have the 5 senses. You can jump to a profile, I'll explain that in a second, but really you live in this app on the prompts here. Home, this is not really necessary, but you could always go back and kind of do this little puzzle. So if your kid found it really fun, you could always revisit this page, but really the prompts is where you live. So all the senses, I did these icons in advance because I just love visuals and I really love detail, so I could tweak these indefinitely. So I knew that I would waste a ton of time today if I spent any time doing that. So these were done in the few days leading up to this. I just had ideas, I kept jotting them down. So one of the cool things, like Figma just does these really killer transitions that I really wanted to experiment with. So what's going on here is that, like, I'm taking this card, the background's expanding to be full screen. Actually, not just that, I turned it into a circle, so it kind of takes on a different shape. Those elements lock to the top, this card scrolls in, and then this X appears. So you're going back and forth between those pretty seamlessly. Oh, and then this app bar drops out of the way. So that was super fun to do. And this is, again, something I wanted to focus on because, like, it was meant to be like childlike, but in my mind, it really is for children. So you just click through. Again, there's like one single prompt a day. So sight, we can go in and check off. So say we went out and did whatever, we counted cardinals in our backyard. That's something Truly loves to do. So we complete it, and you just get like a kind of a subtle complete state here. And then you just, click through the rest of these and do the same thing. Initially, one of the things I wanted was, I was thinking, like, I don't know, a calendar app, a type of thing that, like, let you know what's coming up for that day. Because that was one of my struggles. It was like, what day is it? What do I have to do? But then I was like, that's dumb. That's a calendar. So this is meant to be sort of ephemeral, where it's like, it only shows you the day of. You can't really travel back in time or see what's coming up. But then I was like, maybe that's too simple. So the profile would be a place where you could go back to your previous activities and just kind of look at your accomplishments through each of the 5 senses. So you filter down by that. And I didn't get any further than this, but you effectively click into a sense, and maybe it lists, like, by date ones you've accomplished. And maybe you've been using that for 40 days and you've done it 32 days of those 40 days. So it's just a way that you can revisit some of those fun things you did. So say your kid was like, this was really fun, or you want to share it or something like that. So it's super simple, potentially like an image or something like that here. And that's really all there is. I think there probably is a lot more to do, like, within a profile, as far as, like, capturing what you've done. But I wanted it to be like, this is the day of. My daughter's 2 and she doesn't care about tomorrow or yesterday. So it's all like living in the moment and just pulling yourself away from the grind. So that's my app. It's super vibrant. I think there's a ton of stuff you could do to make these screens really fun. Actually, I should show something I have. This is, don't look, it's all messy. I had some other experiments. I didn't know what I was going to do for that, kind of like that landing page. I potentially started with just the icons, whether those are self-explanatory or not, I don't know. Something that I thought would be really cool, all of the senses are stacked into these shapes, and you could use your phone's accelerometer to, like, turn the phone upside down, and, like, the shapes would knock around and do fun stuff. Just, like, superfluous, but more just fun experimentations. And then actually everything was just so childlike and round and fat that I think I like the icon, but it seems way too serious now. Like, it's meant to be like a twinkle in your eye, like childlike wonder. I don't know, it seems too serious compared to, like, the rest of these really pared down versions of the icons. But that's my app. I feel like there's not much more to it, but I don't know, that's kind of the point. So should I stop sharing? I don't know.
It looks great, Sean. I love the little icons. It reminds me of like digital Mr. Potato Head when you had them all like stuff.
Yeah, when they're, I did not plan that, but when I stacked them, it looks like a weird Cyclops. Yeah, totally.
I love the icons.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was super fun. I wanted it to be like a chance to do more illustration. Like with enterprise stuff, it's always like really straightforward stuff. I wanted lots of white space, lots of color, fat round edges.
Yeah, that thing that you showed at the end where they all collapse because of gravity or whatever, that could be, I mean, you could turn that into several different puzzles if you wanted to, where you have to draw them in order or whatever like that. I think.
Yeah. So like this app is meant to like stretch you in different, like you have a whole category of sensory stuff and then like puzzle stuff. Yeah, totally. So it could go far beyond just this piece of it. But the idea was really like, man, on walks, truly just like notices things you would never look twice at.
Right.
And we have like, she has no agenda, and I think it's super cute, and we just take for granted a ton of stuff. So it's just a way for, I would want something like this to slow down and
That's awesome.
do nothing.
Sean, I could just talk to you about animations and transitions all day. Maybe for our next design challenge, we just do animation and interaction explorations. I think everyone is feeling a little worn down after 7 hours straight of designing.
Yeah, I know. When I was done with like the first segment of the day, I was like, I spent this whole time animating the splash screen. I should probably do some work.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and all the designers for participating. This was an experiment. Apologies to everyone about the link mix up in the beginning, but in in a couple of weeks we will be having a recap video come out, as well as a blog post, so be looking for those. And if you have any feedback, we would love to hear it. We hope to do this again soon in the future. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys.
Great work, y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
I'm using the wash my hands emoji.